He was Seoul's untouchable heir, the man who built empires with silence and ended them with a signature. Kang Joon-hyuk, 38 years old, 6 feet of calculated restraint wrapped in bespoke Italian suits. The Ice King of the Kang Group, controlling real estate that reshaped skylines, tech investments that whispered in boardrooms across Asia, and political alliances that no one dared name in daylight. From his Gangnam penthouse 43 floors above the city, he watched Seoul glitter like a chessboard he had already won. No emotion crossed his face, no smile, no anger, just precision. People said the Kang family fortune was clean on paper: hotels, developments, venture capital. But everyone who mattered knew the truth. Some doors opened only if you paid in loyalty, and some closed forever if you asked the wrong questions. Then there was her, Amara Hayes, 32. Black American woman living quietly in Atlanta. Graphic designer by day, devoted wife and mother by every other hour. For 5 years, she had believed in a marriage that spanned oceans, late-night video calls, careful savings sent to joint accounts, a little daughter named Sophia who called her Korean father Appa with perfect pronunciation. Amara wore department store dresses, took the bus, smiled at strangers who sometimes stared too long. She was the foreign wife, tolerated by his family, loved by him, or so she thought, invisible to the world that revolved around Kang money. She sent birthday cards to his mother, learned Korean recipes from YouTube, raised Sophia alone while he handled business. She believed distance was temporary. She believed love was patient. Until one ordinary Tuesday morning, a plain white envelope arrived at her Atlanta doorstep. No return address, official seal from a Seoul law firm. Inside, divorce papers, dated 3 years earlier, signed with her name in handwriting that wasn't hers. Finalized, registered, irrevocable under Korean law. Amara stood in her kitchen, coffee going cold, reading words that erased 5 years of marriage without her ever knowing. No conversation. No warning, no chance to fight. He had divorced her. Quietly, completely, like closing a business deal he no longer needed. And in that moment, the woman who had made herself small to fit into his world decided she was done shrinking. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about what happens when the wife you thought you could erase decides to make you remember her name. What would you do if the man who promised forever ended it with a forged signature and never told you? Hold tight, because Amara's about to fly across an ocean with fire in her eyes. And Seoul's Ice King is about to learn that some women don't melt. They burn. Seoul never slept, but Kang Joon-hyuk's world ran on a different clock. One measured in boardroom silences and signed contracts that shifted billions without a single raised voice. From the outside, the Kang Group headquarters in Gangnam looked like any other glass tower. Sleek lines, mirrored windows reflecting the city's neon pulse. Security discreet enough that you'd never notice the retinal scanners at every executive elevator. Phew. Inside, the top floors were a fortress of dark wood and muted gold, traditional Korean motifs carved into modern steel, a reminder that this family's power stretched back generations, long before the skyscrapers rose. Joon-hyuk's office occupied the entire 43rd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Han River like a private painting. His desk was minimalist, black marble, single monitor, no family photos. Only a small jade lion, inherited from his father, sat on one corner like a silent sentinel. He ran the empire with 3 lieutenants who had been with him since university. Min Tae-ho, head of security, and the only man Joon-hyuk trusted with his life, Park Ji-yoon, legal counsel, who could make scandals disappear faster than they appeared. And Choi Min-soo, the financial strategist who turned gray market profits into legitimate real estate empires. They met every morning at 7 a.m. sharp. Decisions were made in under 30 minutes. Emotions were never discussed. The family itself was smaller, colder. Chairwoman Kang, his grandmother, lived in the ancestral compound in Sihanoukdong, a Hanok fortress hidden behind high walls and cherry trees. She still held 30% voting shares and the final word on a family matter. Joon-hyuk's mother had passed young. His father had died in a car accident that no one questioned too closely. Succession was everything. Bloodline was law, and then there was the marriage. 5 years earlier, Joon-hyuk had married Amara Hayes in a quiet ceremony in Atlanta. No Korean press. No family attendance except a proxy lawyer. The official story, a strategic alliance with American markets. The private truth, he had fallen, quietly, completely, for a woman who laughed at his terrible jokes and saw past the title to the man. They agreed on distance. He stayed in Seoul for the empire. Fustau. She stayed in Atlanta for stability, raising their daughter Sophia while finishing her graphic design business remotely. Video calls every night. Gifts flown in weekly. Promises that as soon he'd bring them to Korea permanently. Amara's life in Atlanta was warm, lived in, deliberate. A small two-bedroom house in a quiet suburb, sunlight through kitchen windows, Sophia's crayon drawings taped to the fridge, the faint scent of shea butter and coffee that always lingered. She worked from home, designing logos for small Black-owned businesses, building a portfolio that was growing but still fragile. She sent half her earnings to a joint account for our future in Seoul. She learned Korean phrases from apps, cooked bulgogi on weekends, told Sophia stories about her father's big important job that kept him away but made him love them more. She never complained about the loneliness, never pushed for visits. She believed in patience, in love that waited. In Seoul, the Kang family tolerated the marriage the way they tolerated rain, unpleasant but unavoidable. Chairwoman Kang called Amara the American experiment. Lieutenants referred to her as the wife in reports, never by name. No one expected it to last. Amara remained invisible. A signature on occasional documents, a face on holiday video calls, a name that didn't appear in press releases. She thought distance was temporary. She thought love was patient. Everything changed on a quiet Tuesday morning when a plain white envelope arrived at her Atlanta doorstep. Inside wasn't love, it was legal finality. The life she thought she had was already over. Expanded Section 3, inciting incident and forced proximity. The envelope was plain, white. No return address except a Seoul law firm logo that looked official enough to make Amara's stomach drop before she even opened it. She stood in her Atlanta kitchen, morning sunlight spilling across the counter where Sophia's half-eaten cereal bowl sat cooling. The paper inside was crisp, formal Korean with English translation attached, like they'd anticipated she wouldn't understand. Decree of divorce, Kang Joon-hyuk v. Amara Hayes. Finalized 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days ago. Grounds, irreconcilable differences. Signature, Amara Hayes in handwriting that wasn't hers. The room tilted. Amara's phone trembled in her hand as she dialed Joon-hyuk. Straight to voicemail. Again and again. She called their joint lawyer in Seoul, the one who handled visa paperwork and the family matters. Valid, he said carefully, voice tinny over the line. Under Korean jurisdiction, since Mr. Kang is resident here, your signature was notarized. The court accepted it. But I didn't sign anything. A pause. There are ways to expedite proceedings when one party is unavailable. Rage rose like heat lightning. Silent at first, then cracking through her chest. She looked at Sophia playing in the living room, humming a Korean children's song Joon-hyuk had taught her over video call. 3 years. He'd divorced her 3 years ago. While she was planning their eventual move to Seoul. While she was saving every extra dollar for Sophia's future. While she was whispering I love you into phones at 3 a.m. her time. Believing distance was the only thing keeping them apart. Amara booked the flight that afternoon. One way. For her and Sophia. If he wants to erase us, she told her reflection in the airport bathroom mirror, eyes burning but dry, he'll have to do it to our faces. 24 hours later, she stood in the Kang penthouse lobby, marble floors cold under her sneakers, Sophia asleep against her shoulder, jet lag heavy in her bones. Security recognized her from old photos, hesitated, called up. They let her in. The elevator ride felt like ascending into another world. Silent mirrored walls reflecting a black woman in travel-worn clothes holding a sleeping child, facing whatever waited above. The doors opened directly into the penthouse. Joon-hyuk stood in the living room, suit jacket off, white shirt sleeves rolled like he'd been waiting. His face didn't change. No shock, no guilt, just that same controlled calm. Amara. His voice was quiet. You shouldn't have come. Sophia stirred in her arms. Amara's voice didn't shake. You divorced me 3 years ago, without telling me, without my signature, and you think I shouldn't have come? He glanced at Sophia, something flickering in his eyes. It was to protect you. From what? Your family? Your empire? Or from being your wife? Chairwoman Kang appeared from the hallway like a storm gathering, elegant handbok, silver hair perfect, eyes sharp as winter. You will sign the retroactive agreement, she said in English, clipped and cold. A generous settlement. Silence clause. You leave tomorrow. Amara shifted Sophia's weight. I'm not signing anything, and I'm not leaving until I hear it from him. Chairwoman's gaze flicked to security. Escort them to the guest wing. They stay until compliance. Junhag didn't stop it. Amara was shown to a guest suite, beautiful, impersonal, locked from outside. Forced proximity. In the most luxurious prison Seoul could offer, with the man who'd ended their marriage in secret and a little girl who still called him Appa, the standoff had begun. The family dinner was meant to be the final push. Chairwoman Kang had orchestrated it perfectly. Intimate table in the private dining room, traditional dishes prepared by the household chef, subtle lighting that made everyone look refined and untouchable. Jun Hyuk sat at the head, face as unreadable as ever. Amara was placed at the far end, Sophia already asleep in the guest wing under watchful staff eyes. Chairwoman wasted no time. In America, she said smoothly, spearing a piece of galbi with delicate precision, divorce is dramatic, messy, public. Here in Korea, we handle matters with dignity. Efficiency. Your signature was obtained through proper channels. It's time to accept reality and move forward quietly. Amara set her chopsticks down. The soft clink echoed like a starting gun. Proper channels, Amara repeated. Her voice was calm, too calm. You mean forgery under Article 843 of the Korean Civil Act, which explicitly requires mutual consent and notarized signatures for unilateral divorce proceedings when one party is non-resident? The room froze. Chairwoman's chopsticks paused midair. Jun Hyuk's eyes snapped to Amara. Min Tae-ho, standing near the door, shifted his weight, the smallest movement, but telling. Amara continued, her Korean flawless, pronunciation crisp with the Seoul dialect she'd practiced for years on apps and language exchanges. The notarization on those documents is invalid. The seal number doesn't match ministry records for that year. And the witness signature, Park Ji-yoon, wasn't it? That's your personal lawyer. Conflict of interest under judicial ethics guidelines. Chairwoman recovered first, but her smile was thinner now. You misunderstand Korean law, dear. Foreigners often do. I studied Korean family law for 2 years, Amara said quietly, self-taught. Because when your husband keeps delaying your visa sponsorship, you learn to protect yourself. I know exactly what those documents are. Fraud. And fraud can be challenged in court, international court if necessary, with the right evidence. Silence stretched like wire about to snap. Jun Hyuk's gaze hadn't left her face. Something shifted in his eyes. Not just surprise. Recognition. Like he'd finally seen past the patient wife, the accommodating foreigner, to the woman who'd been preparing for this fight longer than any of them realized. How? He asked softly. Did you learn all this? Amara met his eyes. The same way I learned everything else about surviving in your world. Quietly. Well, everyone assumed I was too American. Too ignorant, too busy, being grateful to notice what was happening right in front of me. Chairwoman's composure cracked. This is absurd. You're hysterical. No, Amara cut in, voice steady steel. Hysterical is forging a woman's signature to erase her from existence because she doesn't fit your idea of proper. What's absurd is thinking I wouldn't fight back. The lieutenants exchanged glances. Min Tae-ho's hand moved away from his sidearm, subtle, but Amara caught it. The power in the room had tilted, just slightly, but enough. Jun Hyuk leaned back slowly, studying her like a puzzle that had just revealed hidden edges. You're not what they said you were, he said quietly. No, Amara replied. I'm exactly what I always was. You just never bothered to look. In that frozen moment, the invisible wife became something else entirely. A threat, a mystery. A woman who had been preparing for war while everyone else assumed she was waiting for peace. And in Jun Hyuk's eyes, for the first time since she'd arrived, there was something dangerously close to respect. The family scrambled. Phones appeared. Lawyers were called. Documents re-examined. Amara was no longer dismissed. She was scrutinized, watched, potentially dangerous, or potentially valuable. The rules had changed. And no one, not Chairwoman Kang, not the lieutenants, not even Jun Hyuk himself, knew quite what to do with the woman who just stepped out of the shadows and into the light. Expanded Section 5. Rising tension and complications, the penthouse began to feel like a gilded cave. Amara moved through corridors where staff averted eyes and conversations stopped when she entered rooms. Sophia, sensing the chill, clung closer, asking in her small voice why. Halmeoni looked at Mommy like she was a stranger. The external storm hit first. By morning, headlines exploded across Seoul's portals. Kang Air's secret foreign divorce scandal. American wife demands billions. Black gold digger targets Keebol fortune. Anonymous sources, clearly Han family plants. Fed stories painting Amara as opportunistic, calculating, a woman who trapped Jun Hyuk with a child and now wanted payout for silence. Her phone buzzed with notifications she didn't want. Old American friends messaging concern. Korean tabloids tagging her in photos from years ago. Wedding pictures leaked without context. Inside the compound, pressure tightened like a vice. Chairwoman summoned Jun Hyuk privately. Amara overheard fragments through thin walls. Words like liability, image, pay her off quietly. When Jun Hyuk emerged, his face was stone, but his eyes carried new weight. She wants you gone by tomorrow, he said quietly in the guest wing. Generous settlement. Private flight, no public statements. Amara's laugh was bitter. And Sophia, his silence was answer enough. They wanted custody leverage. Korean courts favored bloodline residency, stability. A foreign mother with expired visa ties would lose. Amara felt isolation settle like frost. Doors locked for security. Meals delivered instead of shared. Staff who once nodded politely now barely acknowledged her. She caught whispers. She's demanding too much. Chairwoman says she's unstable. Better if she just signs and leaves. But Amara didn't retreat. She observed, noted patterns, who met whom in hallways, which staff carried messages, how security rotated. She gathered evidence quietly, photographed documents left carelessly on tables, recorded conversations on her phone when voices rose. Her guarded pain cracked open in small moments, holding Sophia at night, whispering promises she wasn't sure she could keep. Jun Hyuk's facade cracked too. He began appearing in the guest wing unannounced, bringing Sophia toys, staying longer than necessary. One evening, as rain lashed windows, he lingered after tucking Sophia in. They're questioning my judgment, he admitted quietly, saying I'm weak for letting you stay. Amara looked at him, this man who'd erased her without a conversation, now fighting his own family to keep her near. And what do you say? That weakness would be letting them win. Legal deadline loomed, 48 hours until board vote on family stability measures that could force settlement or worse. Han leaks escalated, fake texts from Amara demanding money, doctored photos implying affairs, public opinion turned vicious. Jun Hyuk was cornered. Defend her publicly and risk empire stability or cut losses and preserve power. He chose neither. Instead, he came to Amara with files. Han's pushing a takeover vote, he said. Using the scandal. We counter together, or we both lose. Amara studied him. The isolation, the microaggressions, the threats, all of it had forged reluctant connection. Together how? You know law, I know leverage. We expose the forgery, turn their weapon against them. A near miss sealed it. That night, an anonymous delivery arrived, settlement papers with new terms. Amara signs away custody rights for payout. She recognized the handwriting on the note attached. Chairwoman's. The betrayal cut deeper than Han leaks. Amara looked at Jun Hyuk. Your family or mine? She asked quietly. He took the papers, face hardening. Neither, he said. From now on, we choose our own. The pressure cooker had reached boiling, and something between them, fragile, unnamed, was about to explode into alliance, or burn everything down. The press storm raged outside the compound walls, cameras flashing like lightning, headlines cracking like thunder. But inside the private garden, the night felt almost gentle. Rain had stopped hours ago, leaving the air cool and clean, scented with wet pine from the carefully tended trees. Moonlight filtered through clouds, silvering the stone paths in the small pavilion where Amara and Jun Hyuk sat across from each other on wooden benches. A thermos of barley tea steamed between them, simple, traditional, the kind of drink served in quiet moments when words felt too heavy for coffee or wine. Sophia slept safely in the guest wing, watched by staff who now treated Amara with wary respect instead of dismissal. The silence stretched, comfortable in its discomfort, until Amara spoke first. You want to know why I stayed, she said quietly, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. Why I didn't fight harder when the visits got shorter and when the promises turned into soon. Jun Hyuk didn't answer immediately. He watched her face in the moonlight, the way shadows softened her features, the way exhaustion and resolve lived side by side in her eyes. I want to understand, he said finally. His voice was low, careful, like he was handling something fragile for the first time. Amara stared into her tea. Before you, there was someone else. In the States, he wasn't rich, wasn't powerful, but he made me feel small in ways money never could. She paused, gathering pieces of a past she'd buried deep. He started with compliments that turned into corrections. You'd be prettier if you lost weight. Your hair looks better straight. Don't talk so loud. People are staring. I changed myself piece by piece, thinking love meant compromise. Then the corrections became control. Where I went, who I saw, what I wore. The first time he hit me, he cried harder than I did, said it would never happen again. Jun Hyuk's hands tightened around his cup, knuckles paling, but he stayed silent. It happened again, and again, and again, until I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I left with nothing, just a duffel bag and a bus ticket. Changed cities, changed names on applications, learned to disappear. When I met you online through that design forum, you were kind, patient. You never asked me to change. You said my natural hair was beautiful. My laugh was your favorite sound. And when you proposed after 2 years of talking every day, I thought, finally, safety. Someone who saw me. Her voice cracked slightly. The long distance felt like protection at first. Then it felt like isolation. But I told myself it was temporary, that you were building our future, that love meant waiting. Jun Hyuk set his cup down carefully, and I let you wait because I was building something else. He looked out at the garden, moonlight catching the hard lines of his face. My father died when I was 26. Officially heart attack, unofficially rivals. The family was vulnerable. Grandmother pushed me to take control fast, marry properly, produce heirs, secure alliances. I resisted, then I met you. You were everything they hated. Foreign, independent, uninterested in our world. Marrying you was rebellion. Proof I could choose my own life. He turned back to her. But rebellion has consequences. The board questioned my judgment. Grandmother threatened to block succession. Rivals saw weakness. Weakness. So I compartmentalized. Kept you safe in Atlanta. Told myself distance protected you from the ugliness here. Told myself the divorce was temporary. Until I stabilized everything and could bring you properly. Amara's eyes burned. 3 years, Jun Hyuk. 3 years of me raising our daughter alone, believing in us while you planned a life without me. I know. His voice was raw. I was trapped between duty and wanting something real. And I chose duty, because choosing you meant risking everything my father died for. They sat in silence that felt like shared grief. Two people who'd loved to cross oceans only to discover the water between them had been filled with lies. I was lonely, Amara admitted quietly. Every night Sophia asked when Appa was coming home. I felt like I was failing her, failing us. Jun Hyuk's gaze dropped. I was lonely too, in a penthouse full of people who feared me, in boardrooms where every smile was calculated. You were the only real thing I had, and I let fear take you from me. The moonlight shifted as clouds moved, casting their faces in softer silver. Amara reached across the space, not touching him, but close. We both made choices out of fear. Yes, he said, but yours kept you alive. Mine almost destroyed us. Understanding settled between them, not forgiveness, not yet, but the beginning of something honest. She had just opened the door to her heart, letting moonlight touch wounds she'd hidden for years, when the present kicked it down. Min Tiho appeared at the garden entrance, face grim, holding a tablet. Sir, he said urgently, new leak. Han family just released documents claiming Amara SSI knew about the divorce and accepted payment to stay silent. Amara's breath caught. Jun Hyuk stood slowly, the vulnerability of moments ago hardening into steel. Then they just declared war, he said. And the fragile bridge they'd begun to build trembled under the weight of what came next. The boardroom confrontation had ended hours ago, but the echoes lingered like smoke. Amara sat alone in the guest wing library, a room of dark wood and leather-bound books that smelled like old money and older secrets. Sophia slept in the next room, oblivious to the storm reshaping her future. Amara's hands still trembled as she stared at the forged divorce papers spread across the table. The signature, her name, but not her hand. The date, 3 years ago, when she'd been planning Sophia's second birthday party alone, believing June Hayek's excuses about board crises that kept him away. Oh yeah. She'd demanded truth, gotten partial answers, but something gnawed at her. The way Chairwoman's eyes had flickered when Bloodline was mentioned. The way June Heek's security had tightened around Sophia like she was suddenly precious cargo. Min Ti-ho entered quietly, carrying a sealed leather folder. His face was graver than usual. "From the boss," he said, placing it in front of her. He said, "Read it when you're ready, but read it tonight." Amara opened the folder with fingers that felt numb. Autographs yellowed with age. Apfrahol with a young Korean man in a sharp suit, unmistakably a Kang, the features too similar to June Hayek's. Beside him, a beautiful black woman with Amara's eyes, her smile, her cheekbones, her mother, younger, happier. Standing in what looked like a soul guard and the man's arm around her waist like it belonged there. Underneath, a ledger page. Handwritten entries in Korean. Payment to Nia Johnson, relocation, and silence agreement. Child to remain unknown. Succession protection. Amara's breath stopped. Another document, DNA report, recent, Sophia's name at the top, 99.97% match to Kang paternal line. The room spun. She stood so fast the chair scraped backward. Min Ti-ho caught her elbow. Easy. My mother, Amara's voice cracked. She was, with a Kang. Min nodded once. 28 years ago, before she left Korea, before you were born. Amara's mind raced back, her mother's locket, the one she'd worn until her death, the torn photograph she'd hidden, the warning, if anyone asks, run, not protection from danger, protection from discovery. She was Kang blood. Sophia was legitimate heir potential. The divorce wasn't just cruelty or family pressure, it was erasure. To eliminate a rival bloodline, Amara stormed out, Min following at a distance. She found June Hyuk in his private study, standing at the window overlooking the city, whiskey untouched on the desk. He turned when she entered, face calm but eyes wary. "You knew," she said, voice shaking with rage and betrayal. "The DNA on Sophia, the ledger, my mother." "Not all of it," he said quietly. "I suspected. When the locket photo matched old records, when Hans started pushing harder than a simple divorce scandal warranted, I had Min confirm. You tested my daughter without telling me." "I tested our daughter," he corrected softly, "to protect her." "Grandmother, she knew about your mother years ago, paid her to disappear. When I married you, she waited. When Sophia was born, she saw threat. A half-foreign grandchild with Kang blood could challenge pure succession if exposed." Amara's tears came hot and furious. "So you divorced me to protect your empire?" "No," his voice cracked for the first time. "I divorced you because she threatened to expose everything, destroy your life, take Sophia, ruin you publicly as an unfit mother. I thought distance would keep you safe, that I'd fix it later, bring you back when I had control. You decided for me." Amara's voice broke. "Like everyone else in your world, like I'm not capable of choosing my own fights." June Hyuk stepped closer, hands open, pleading. "I was wrong. I see that now. But Amara, Sophia is Kang. Legitimate. More legitimate than cousins pushing for power. If we expose this, your grandmother will destroy us." She already tried. The door burst open. Chairwoman Kang entered like judgment itself. Hanbok perfect, face carved from ice. "You foolish boy," she said to June Hyuk, "digging up ghosts." That woman, eyeing Amara with contempt, and her bastard child will never— "She's not a bastard," June Hyuk cut in, voice lethal quiet. "She's my daughter, and Amara is my wife. The divorce was fraud, forged under your orders." Chairwoman's eyes flashed. "For the family, for your control," June Hyuk finished. "No more." Amara stepped forward, tears drying into steel. "You paid my mother to disappear, to hide me. Because I threatened your precious pure bloodline." Chairwoman's chin lifted. "Your mother understood sacrifice. She took the money and vanished. You should have stayed vanished." Amara's hand went to her locket. "She taught me to run, but I'm done running." Chairwoman turned to June Hyuk. "Choose. Your family legacy or this complication." June Hyuk looked at Amara. At the woman he'd underestimated, dismissed, tried to protect by pushing away. Then he made his choice. "I choose truth," he said, "and I choose them." Chairwoman's face twisted. You'll destroy everything. No, Jun Hyuk said. You'll watch me rebuild it better. The alliance was forged in that moment, not gentle, not romantic, but unbreakable. Born from blood revealed, betrayal exposed, and a man's decision to stand with the woman he'd almost lost. The war wasn't over, but now they would fight it together. The study felt smaller after the revelation, like the walls had moved inward, pressing the truth into every corner. Amara stood by the window, arms crossed tight over her chest, staring at Seoul's glittering skyline as if the lights could burn away what she'd just learned. Her mother connected to the Kang bloodline, Sophia legitimate heir. The divorce, not cruelty alone, but calculated erasure to protect pure succession. Jun Hyuk sat at his desk, the DNA report and old ledger spread before him like evidence in a trial he was both judge and defendant. His posture was straight, shoulders squared in his black turtleneck, but his pale hands rested flat on the wood, steady yet knuckles white with restrained tension. Min Tae-ho stood near the door, black suit, immaculate, face grave as he monitored incoming alerts on his tablet. Jun Hyuk broke the silence first, voice low and resolute. "I choose you. Both of you." Amara turned slowly, rich brown eyes searching his face for deception. Natural coils framed her features, catching the warm desk lamp glow, her posture guarded but unbroken. "You mean that?" she asked quietly. "Mean that?" she asked quietly. "After everything your grandmother planned?" Jun Hyuk stood tall frame, moving with deliberate calm around the desk. Dark eyes held hers without flinching. "She planned to erase a threat, but you're not a threat. You're family. Real family. Real family, the kind earned, not inherited." Min's tablet buzzed. He scanned it, face tightening. Han family's accelerating. Board vote moved up. 24 hours. They're pushing instability narrative, claiming your judgment is compromised by the scandal. Jun Hyuk's jaw set. "Then we don't defend. We attack. We attack." He pulled up secure files on his monitor, financial trails, old communications, forged documents tied to Han interference. Amara stepped closer, posture shifting from defensive to focused, rich brown hands gesturing as she analyzed screens. "We go public. Press conference tomorrow. We go public. Reveal the bloodline, the forgery, the attempted smear. Force the board to choose old corruption or new truth." Jun Hyuk nodded, pale fingers typing rapidly. "My contacts in media owe favors. We'll control the narrative." Min added quietly, security doubled. Han may try physical interference. Countdown began, 24 hours until vote that could strip Jun Hyuk's control. They worked through the night in the study, Jun Hyuk coordinating calls, posture leaning forward with intense focus. Amara drafting statements, rich brown hands steady on laptop, dark eyes sharp with legal precision. Min managing logistics, stoic, face alert. Personal stakes crystallized in quiet moments. Sophia's future, legitimate or exiled. Amara's dignity, fraced or reclaimed. Jun Hyuk's legacy, poisoned inheritance or reformed empire. As dawn approached, Jun Hyuk paused, looking at Amara across the desk. "This could cost me everything," he said softly. "Hope so." Amara met his gaze, posture straight, voice calm steel. "Or gain you something real." He extended his hand, not command, but partnership. She took it. Alliance forged, not from forgiveness, from shared determination to build better than what they'd inherited. When morning came, they were ready. Their enemies were not. The press conference was held in the Kang Group's main auditorium, a space designed for product launches and shareholder triumphs, now transformed into a battlefield of truth. Rows of cameras flashed like artillery. Reporters filled seats, notebooks open, phones recording. Board members sat on the raised platform like reluctant judges. Han family representatives occupied front row seats, faces smug with anticipated victory. Chairwoman Kang sat center stage, hanbok immaculate, silver hair perfect, posture radiating unshakable authority. Jun Hyuk stood at the podium, black suit crisp, pale face calm as carved marble. Beside him, equal height on the platform, stood Amara. Navy dress tailored and professional, natural coils pulled into an elegant twist, rich brown skin glowing under stage lights, posture straight with quiet steel. Sophia waited safely off-site, but her presence hung in the room like unspoken stakes. The moderator opened with neutral questions about recent family matters. Han's representative struck first, smooth voice, practiced concern. Mr. Kang, allegations suggest your judgment has been compromised by personal entanglements, a foreign individual claiming marital rights after years of separation. Some might call this opportunistic. Camera swiveled to Amara. She didn't flinch. June Hyuk's voice cut in, low and lethal calm. Fa. Allegations require evidence. We have it, he signaled. The massive screen behind them lit up. First slide, the forged divorce papers, highlighted signature mismatched notary seal. 3 years ago, June Hyuk said, a divorce was filed in my name without my full knowledge. Without Mrs. Hayes' consent or signature, gasps rippled. Han representatives smirked. Dramatic claims. Next slide, ledger entries, payments labeled silence agreements, dates matching Amara's mother's disappearance from Korea. Amara stepped forward, voice clear, unflinching. My mother, Nia Johnson, was paid to leave Korea 28 years ago to hide a pregnancy to protect pure Kang succession. The room erupted, shouts, flashes, chairwoman's face drained of color, but she recovered fast. Baseless accusations. Amara clicked to DNA report, Sophia's name 99.988% Kang paternal match. Sophia Kang is June Hyuk's daughter, legitimate. The divorce was forged to erase a bloodline threat. Board members leaned forward, faces shifting from skepticism to shock. Han representatives stood, voice rising. This is manipulation, fabricated evidence to distract from. Min Tae-ho played audio. Chairwoman's own voice recorded secretly. The child must never be recognized. Pay whatever necessary. Silence slammed down. Chairwoman stood slowly, handbok rustling like dry leaves. You betray your own blood. June Hyuk's voice was ice. You betrayed ours first, for power, for control. He turned to the board. This family was built on secrets, on silencing women who didn't fit, on forging documents to protect image over truth, no more. Amara's voice joined his. Steady, powerful. I didn't come for money. I came for my daughter, for the marriage I believed in, for the right to exist without being erased. A board member, older cousin, asked quietly, what do you propose? June Hyuk answered, full investigation. Chairwoman steps down pending legal review. Transparent succession process, including all legitimate heirs. Han representative tried one last push. You'll destroy the company with this scandal. No, Amara said, voice cutting clear. We'll save it by choosing truth over lies. Votes were called. One by one, board members raised hands. For change. Chairwoman was escorted out, not in handcuffs yet, but defeated. Her empire of silence crumbling. Han representatives left pale, takeover dead. Press shouted questions, but June Hyuk raised a hand. One more thing. He turned to Amara, publicly, cameras rolling. The divorce was fraud. Our marriage stands, and I was wrong to let fear make choices for us. His voice softened just for her. I'm sorry, for the distance, for the silence, for thinking protection meant pushing you away. Amara's eyes glistened, but her posture stayed strong. I forgive you, she said clearly. Not because it was easy, because we choose better now. He took her hand, equal, visible. The room exploded in flashes. But in that moment, 47 years of lies exposed, one woman standing undeniable. The war ended not with destruction, but with beginning. Dust settled, survivors stood, and a new world, imperfect, hard-won, emerged from the old. The press conference ended not with chaos, but with a hush that felt heavier than shouting. Cameras still flashed, but the questions had shifted from accusations to awe. Reporters sensed history unfolding, a Keeble empire cracking open under the weight of its own secrets, reformed by the quiet strength of a woman who'd refused to be erased. Chairwoman Kang was gone, escorted away under investigation, her legacy of control crumbling like old paper. Han representatives left defeated, their takeover plot exposed and dismantled. Board members filed out in stunned silence, some nodding to Amara with new respect, others avoiding her eyes. Amara stood on the platform a moment longer, rich brown hands steady despite the adrenaline crash, natural coils catching the auditorium lights, posture tall and unbowed. Beside her, June Hyuk's presence felt different, no longer distant protector, but equal partner. Immediate aftermath unfolded in the private lounge backstage. Board allies approached cautiously, offers of support, quiet apologies for past dismissals. Min Tae-ho coordinated security, face relaxed for the first time in days. Sophia was brought in, small hands reaching for both parents, her laughter cutting through tension like sunlight. Power restructured swiftly. Junhike announced transitional reforms, independent audits of family contracts, diversity initiatives for board representation, ethical guidelines prioritizing transparency over tradition. Sophia recognized publicly as legitimate heir, her future secured not by erasure, but embrace. Amara gained voice, a seat on the Family Advisory Council, influence over intercultural initiatives bridging Kang Group's global reach. Character transformation settled gently. Amara no longer invisible, media called her the woman who reformed a dynasty. Invitations poured in for speaking engagements on resilience and family law. She moved into the penthouse not as tolerated wife, but co-architect of their new life. Her warmth softened edges. Family dinners with laughter, Sophia's artwork on walls once bare. Junhike no longer isolated Ice King, warmer glances, genuine smiles reserved for Amara and Sophia, prioritizing presence over endless meetings. He learned patience, vulnerability, the value of partnership over control. Relationship status solidified quietly. Marriage renewed in private ceremony blending American and Korean traditions. Vows honest this time. Equal partnership in empire and home, yet open-ended promise lingered. Han remnants whispered in shadows, disgruntled allies, unfinished investigations. Amara's advocacy work grew, foundation for intercultural families facing Kibol pressures. One evening on the penthouse balcony, soul sparkling below, Junhike held Amara close, not possessive, but present. "We won," he said softly. Amara leaned into him, natural coils catching breeze, rich brown skin kissed by city lights. "We survived," she corrected. "Winning is what comes next." The Kang penthouse stood different now, windows open. Light pouring in. Junhike and Amara stood together on the balcony, no longer divided by secrets but united by truth. The locket remained, a reminder of what was almost lost. They had reclaimed their family. They had each other. And that was enough. If you believe love can survive betrayal and rebuild stronger, subscribe now and comment where you're watching from. This story isn't over. It's only just begun.